So welcome to the video, and if you haven't already seen the first two in this series I've entitled Soul Vampires, I recommend watching that for more of the traits on narcissism and also the manipulation tactics they use. But on today's video I'm going to talk about narcissistic abuse victim syndrome. So this is actually the aftermath of being in a narcissistic relationship with someone, or a friendship with someone, or just being associated with someone who's narcissistic. So this is the actual kind of emotional effects you have from being with them, and it can be very, very traumatizing. So starting out with the first one, which is chronic self-blame. Because the abuser is chronically always blaming their victim, it's always your fault, it's never my fault, it's always your fault, always putting the blame on them, and always shaming everything they solitary do, they start to doubt who they are. They doubt everything they say, everything they do, everything they don't do. It can be incredibly confusing through all the manipulation strategies I mentioned in the last video. So through all the confusion, all the shaming, all the guilt tripping, all this invoking fear in the person, they doubt everything they do. The next thing is boundary confusion. So you don't know where you end and someone else begins, because their boundaries have been so violated by this abuser, by the narcissist, they don't know where they end and the other person begins. They start to doubt if they should even have boundaries, because they've often been out-talked of their boundaries by their abuser by saying things like, "Why are you being so sensitive?" or "Why are you being defensive?" Again, that's a way to lower your guard so the narcissist can carry on abusing you. So this often causes something called depersonalization. So the person doesn't even know who they are anymore, because their boundaries have been so violated. They don't know where they end, the other person begins. They're always forming now their identity through their abuser. All their passions have been shamed, all their behaviors have been shamed, their natural tendencies have been shamed. So they begin to feel like they're flawed, defective, and this causes toxic shame. They lose their identity, they lose their sense of self. The next thing is they have feelings of sheer helplessness, hopelessness, and insanity. They think they go crazy. They think they have this pervasive feeling that there's something wrong with them, to the point they think they're crazy, because you can't see narcissistic abuse sometimes. It's just emotional abuse. So there's no physical manifestation. Someone isn't always beating you up. So you can't go to the police about this kind of stuff. So because you can't physically see anything going wrong, you just feel it, you think there's something wrong with you, and the person believes they're going insane. The next thing is an exaggerated or polarized freeze response known as dissociation. So this is where the person keeps teleporting out and their mind keeps going offline. They keep going into like these kind of heady fantasies to try and block out unconscious pain. They kind of escape their bodies by doing this, and all the pain, all the feelings that come with that. A big thing which I talk about on this channel is c-ptsd, so complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So this this is what invokes emotional flashbacks. So there's no visual or auditory cue. You just get this tremendous kind of surge of adrenaline at the drop of a hat. You keep going into fight or flight responses all the time. You have this pervasive feeling of endangerment, like some abuser's always going to attack you. You have these visions of homelessness, abandonment. Obviously homelessness is like the biggest form of abandonment there is. You don't feel safe. The next thing is, because of the dissociation, is memory loss. Because the traumas are so severe, you keep dissociating, you can't keep your concentration. So you keep forgetting everything. So this is how some abusers can actually get away with a lot of stuff as well. You go into extreme self-isolation. So this is where, self-isolating is a healthy thing. But at the same time, if it's in extreme amounts where you're not socialized anymore and you have to hide, it's like a wounded animal going into the dark cave. It's the only place you can be without any boundaries and still be safe. So this is where they cut off from everyone else, because they prioritize their abuser. The abuser tries to get them to prioritize only them and cut off all their friends so they can have all the attention from this person. And then the abuser leaves. Now they're isolated and they feel incredibly wounded. The next thing is a lack or inability to feel joy. So this is where, because their passions have been so shamed by the abuser, and they've tried to confuse the person into abandoning their passions and their visions, their mission, their life purpose, whatever it is, they start to associate pain more with their passions. They start to associate discomfort with their passions. They feel like there's something wrong with them, because the abusers try to hypnotize them into thinking that their passions are bad so they can get more attention from them. So they have this inability to feel joy. And also because the abuser doesn't like seeing their partner happy when they're not, it's almost an insult to the abuser. they start not to trust themselves even more. And then the last thing I'm going to say is sleeplessness. Because of the severity of emotional flashbacks, and obviously because you go into a deep unconscious state when you're sleeping, you often suffer from sleep paralysis, so you can't go to sleep. Also, because you're in a room and it's dark, it can actually invoke these feelings of vulnerability. Kind of emulates kind of almost like this horror film kind of vibe. So you find it very, very hard to go to sleep because you think someone's going to hurt you. So again, there is forms of stuff like this. There's help you can get. Please see a psychotherapist. Please go on my Social Magnetic Attraction website, where I will link it below. I have a selection of books you can read which will help you heal. Please watch the other two videos. Please subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends. I hope you found this video useful. Go after the resources available to you on narcissistic abuse, victim syndrome recovery, to help you get back up to scratch, because these effects are very, very traumatizing. So, hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much.